Big injuries to Darwin Núñez and Diogo Jota, a triple captaincy fail on Erling Haaland, and to top it all off, game week 26 is a blank game week for 4 highly owned teams. We have so much to talk about in today's game week 26 transfer plan video. As always, make sure you do drop a like. We're aiming for 300 on this video, and of course, smash that subscribe button. So enough chatting, let's get into today's video. So first up, we need to talk about our teams and how they're looking going into game week 26. Of course, we're still in the middle of double game week 25. It's been a good game week so far for me, 66 points. Triple captaincy fail on Haaland, but we do have one more games to go. And I'm currently on a decent green arrow. I'm sat around 100k, which I'm really happy about. But I will do an official review later on in the week once the double game week has finished. But we need to take a look at how our teams are looking going into this blank game week. For those that don't know, Chelsea, Tottenham, Luton and Liverpool do not have a game. Hence why when you're logging into your website, you're probably seeing blanks for those certain players. So please do not be alarmed. This blank game week was coming. We did know about it. So I want to talk about my team currently, what I'm doing with the players that are either injured or ruled out for game week 26 due to a blank, and also my plans going forward for foreseeable game week. So first up, here's how my team is looking with no transfers. We've got Areola in goal at home against Brentford. I have a decision between the two goalkeepers, but I mean, both are terrible. So I'm just going to go for the one who's playing at home. Currently got a back three, but of course we do have Charlie Taylor on the bench. He returned to Burnley in game week 25, so I'm hoping that I can bring him into my team for game week 26. He could be the unsung hero we all needed this game week. But of course the Arsenal double up, I've had that for a few weeks, really happy with it. And Nathan Ake, hopefully he does get picked. I imagine he does with the injuries to Gvardiol, for example. I think Ake is one of their better defenders. Moving into midfield, of course, Foden, Garnacho and Saka have a game, so they are automatically selected into my team. Diogo Jota is the big one. I already knew he was blanking in game week 26, but of course the injury, and I'm going to put up the most recent quotes that we've been seeing around Twitter, suggests that he's avoided a serious knee injury, but he's still going to be ruled out for up to 2 months. Now, we're going to talk about why maybe selling him isn't a desperate transfer right now. But game week 27, I was hoping to play him. And of course, he is now going to be ruled out for game week 27. So he is a sell regardless. It's just whether I need to do it in this game week. And the front three, Haaland and Watkins, of course, are playing. I am planning on putting the captaincy once again on Erling Haaland, unless anything happens in that second fixture in game week 25. Watkins delivering the goods once again. He is just going to be a long-term hold for everybody. But Darwin Núñez, he is just a frustrating player. Got the goal in the opening game off at halftime. This is a recent quote from a Liverpool correspondent, or at least in the know. And they have stated that they're hearing Núñez is a doubt for the final. And if that is the case, of course, he will be ruled out for Wednesday's game against Luton. And Mo Salah is also a slight doubt for the Luton game, anybody that's considering it. But I think we'll get more information between now and, of course, the game week 26 deadline. But Darwin Núñez is an interesting one because I always planned on selling him either in this game week or in game week 27. So with this injury news and the injury status of other players, I do feel like it's accelerated my plans a little bit. And with 4.2 million in the bank, one free transfer, let's take a look at my transfer plans and moves for this team. Now, I spoke about it in previous videos about this is the part of the season where you can't just be making transfers without any sort of thought of future game weeks, because we've got the fixture ticker here from Ben Crellin over on Twitter, and you can see that we're getting into the business end of the season with blanks and doubles. You can't be making transfers for players where you haven't had any thought about what fixtures they have. Hence the screenshot I'm putting up on your screens right now going into game week 26. Mo Salah is the most bought player by over 100,000 managers. But as you can see on the fixture ticker, he doesn't have a game in game week 26. So do not be buying Mo Salah. I get it. Some people want to bring him in because of price changes and they feel like they'll be priced out later on in the future. But he doesn't play in game week 26, and there's also a high probability that he blanks in game week 29. So you're buying Mo Salah. He isn't playing in 26 officially. He has Man City in game week 28. I get it. He does well, okay, in that fixture, but then he might blank in game week 29. Mo Salah is off the cards unless you plan on free hitting in game week 29. Then he makes sense as a transfer in game week 27. But I really think we do need to have a bit more of an understanding on the fixtures coming up, because as we discussed, game week 26 being a blank means that we do need to sell off some of our players, especially those like Liverpool and Chelsea, who do have a high probability of blanking in game week 29. When we take a look at the fixtures for Chelsea and Liverpool in 27 and 28, Brentford away and Newcastle at home for Chelsea, I don't think it's actually terrible. I've seen a lot of people sell Cole Palmer. I think he could actually be quite a valuable player in those 2 game weeks and somebody I plan on holding. Liverpool, on the other hand, Nottingham Forest away and then Man City at home. And of course, they do have the Carabao Cup final in game week 26. So again, I think some of us might have planned to have held Darwin Núñez or Diogo Jota over that period because Forest feels like a good opportunity for goals. But with the injuries, I think a lot of our hands have been forced now to sell off the Liverpool assets. And I do think it is worth doing so. Now, you're probably looking at game week 29 and thinking, when do we know when that is going to be confirmed? Well, before the game week 27 deadline, we will be having the FA Cup games, and that will officially decide what games are playing and not playing in blank game week 29. And that's why I feel like game week 26 is a very difficult game week, because I feel like there are players out there, for example, and we're going to talk about them, Wolves in the shape of Hwang and Neto, who I really want to buy. But because of the probability of them potentially blanking in game week 29, although their fixtures are fantastic on the lead up to it, Sheffield United, Newcastle and Fulham, if they don't play in game week 29, it doesn't feel like the best transfer to make long term. Whereas someone like a Douglas Luiz, again, in Aston Villa's team, even though the fixtures are good, I don't feel as enticed to bring him in. But with a confirmed game in game week 29, it makes his appeal a little bit more higher. So with that said, game week 26 is a very difficult game week to make our moves. I think we need to bring in players that have guaranteed fixtures. And then after game week 26, before game week 27, that's when we'll have game week 29 confirmed and it will lock in more of our transfers. So let's take a look at my moves, but you do need to make sure you're aware of the fixtures coming up. So first up, Darwin Núñez, as we discussed, going to be ruled out for game week 26 because they blank, and he could be an injury risk for game week 27. I always had the plan of doing Darwin Núñez to Dominic Solanke come game week 27. Game week 26 is not ideal with Man City at home, as you can see, for Bournemouth, and I also do own Nathan Ake. So just from a kind of like perspective, I don't really like the idea of my forward playing the defence, but sometimes it is what it is. My plan was to originally bring him in game week 27 when they are away against Burnley. And then in game week 28, of course, they have that double game week. 29 looks like it could be a blank for them, so don't really consider that right now until we do have an understanding. But Dominic Solanke has to come into your teams for game week 27 and beyond. First and foremost, the underlying numbers are fantastic. He's still the talisman in that team. 0.56 XG per 90, decent shots in the box. Obviously, the expected assists aren't really that high, but I always want the goals to be scored by players like this. I don't really care about them being chance creators. So as long as the XG is high, as long as he's getting the chances in the team, I think he remains an unbelievable option. Now, the reason why I think about going early on him is because I just think FPL managers are going to be piling into Dominic Solanke come game week 27, and I can see his price going through the roof. And if we don't move in game week 26 and we don't go early in game week 27, we could easily see a double price rise coming into the deadline. So even though it's not ideal, and even though I don't expect Dominic Solanke necessarily to return, I know that I want him at least in 27 and in 28. And as we discussed with the fixtures, I don't know right now whether there are other forwards that I want to target. Højlund, for example, at Man United looks like a great alternative, but he doesn't double in game week 28 and he is a potential blank in game week 29. Now, even though Dominic Solanke has the same situation, I'd rather go for the guaranteed additional fixture rather than bringing in Højlund. But again, if they then play in game week 29 and an upset happens in the FA Cup, Højlund becomes an option. So it's very, very difficult. But I think I'm just going to accept that Solanke has the double in 28, a brilliant fixture in 27, and just going early for him this week ticks one of those boxes and gets me 11 players for this weekend. So that fixture feels almost confirmed. The other thing I need to consider is maybe do I just sell Diogo Jota as well for a -4 and bring in a player who has real high upside this game week. So let's touch on that now. So as we previously discussed, Diogo Jota looks like he could be out for up to 2 months. So whether you sell him in game week 26 or 27, he is a sell eventually. And I'm looking at 3 options right now. Very cheap, but do tick a lot of boxes. So first up, we've previously discussed Aston Villa. They're a really good team to invest in because, as we can see, Nottingham Forest at home in game week 26, a great entry point. Luton away, then Spurs at home actually looks okay right now with Spurs' defensive frailties. But of course, game week 29, the most important thing is it is a confirmed fixture for Aston Villa, which is really important when we are looking to do long-term plans. And then they have Wolves at home in game week 30. So long-term, they not only tick the box of having a game in 26 and in 29, but they're actually just good fixtures in general. So I do like the idea of going for Douglas Luiz. Now, I haven't really liked him in the past because I do feel like he's very dependent on penalties, but at 5.5 million, guaranteed minutes over this period, and he does have some attacking output and of course chance creation as well. I don't mind going there from Diogo Jota. I just need to assess whether the -4 is worth it. And of course, if I do go Luiz, he is then in my team long term. There's no way that I take him out unless I kind of change my chip strategy a little bit and plan on maybe going for a free hit in game week 29. Things like that could happen. Now, of course, the other consideration is going for probably the more exciting picks at Wolves, which are He-Chan and Neto. 5.5 million and 5.7 million for Neto. Now, first up, I want to bring up the underlying numbers for both of these players because I think it is a deliberation that a lot of people are having. Hwang always feels like the goal scorer in the Wolves team, whereas Neto feels like the chance creator. And that is summarised in the underlying numbers here. So this is based on per 90 minutes for the course of the season. Neto's played slightly less minutes due to the injuries, but XG 0.41 for Hwang, 0.19 for Neto. So really is in He-Chan's favour there. But the shots, interestingly, slightly more in Neto's favour. So it does feel like Neto is getting into less goal scoring opportunities and He-Chan is being more the poacher, which end of the day is kind of what I want when I am looking at a FPL option. But when it comes to chance creation, this is where Neto does come into his own. You can see the XA per 90 being 0.32 compared to He-Chan's 0.15. And also the big chances created is in Neto's favour. Now, when we take a look at the fixtures, this is what I discussed about why game week 26 is such a tricky game week to buy players. Sheffield United at home is amazing. Newcastle away doesn't look as bad as what it once was. Fulham at home. And then, of course, the Bournemouth at home game in 29. However, we don't know if that fixture is actually playing yet until the FA Cup fixtures have been played before game week 27. Now, of course, you could just play a free hit in game week 29. And if that is the route that you want to go down, you could buy Wolves players. And if you are planning that strategy, I actually advise you to pile in on Wolves because the fixtures are so good before that. With that Sheffield United fixture at home, sometimes I do think to myself, even though buying Aston Villa makes a lot of sense, it means that if I'm not free hitting in 29, I can navigate that game week better. Sometimes we need to think, do we just jump in on the fixtures that are in front of us? And that fixture in particular, for someone like a He-Chan, feels like a huge haul is potentially going to happen. And then we just understand what we're going to do with game week 29 once we get there. So for me, I need to understand whether selling Jota for a -4 is worthwhile for any of these players. Right now, I don't think it is. If it was a free transfer, I definitely would consider it. But for a -4, I just don't think the upside is necessarily there with the issues of game week 29 that could happen. So let's move on to my team, my planned transfer. But let me know your thoughts in the comments on your Jota replacements. So at the time of recording right now, again, we still have the Liverpool second game and of course the Man City second game to happen. This is my transfer plan. So I'll be looking to move to a 4-3-3 formation and I'll be selling, of course, Darwin Núñez to Dominic Solanke. As I discussed, game week 26 is not a good entry point for him, but I know that I want him for game week 27 and game week 28. And I don't really feel comfortable playing 10 players and rolling the transfer going into game week 27. It does make a lot of sense because, as I discussed, we're going to get so much information before game week 27 deadline, and having 2 free transfers is really powerful. But again, I know Solanke doubles in game week 28, and I know even though he could blank in game week 29, I want him. So going a week early just makes a lot of sense. I'm going to get ahead of the price changes, so I'm going to gain lots of value in Solanke while others might not be buying him because of that tricky fixture, and it just sets my team up for the next few weeks. Now, Jota is a consideration to sell, but the only way I think I would sell him is if I did fix myself in for a free hit game week 29, because even though Douglas Luiz could come in, I don't like bringing him in for a -4. I don't really see the upside. Whereas someone like a Hwang or a Neto, I feel like the upside could be there for them, and I feel a bit more justified bringing them in for a -4. But again, it brings in another player that might not play in game week 29, and with my current chip strategy of not free hitting, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So I need to have a think. If my chip strategy changes and I free hit in game week 29, I feel like I would pull the trigger and do Jota to He-Chan, get the goal scorer in that Wolves team. But for now, this is what my plans are, and I pray that Charlie Taylor makes it back into that Burnley team for game week 26. Who would have thought my team relied on him? Captaincy would be on Erling Haaland unless we saw any uncertainties going into that game week off the back of their Brentford game in double game week 25. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, and importantly, what are your plans for game week 26? Yes, guys, okay, that is going to wrap up today's blank game week 26 transfer plan video. Really hope it's provided some value. As we discussed, still a lot of things to happen this game week alone. So I will be coming back with a game week 26 preview video, of course, my team selection, and no doubt a Q&A live stream. So make sure if you're not already, you are subscribed to the channel. And if you enjoyed this video, please do consider dropping a like. That just leaves me to say, have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Cheers.